What's going on, everybody? It's FREEDO here for Your Overwatch, and I'm pleased to bring you our very first pro Torbjorn video. Torb saw a lot of successful use at APAC 2017, where the best Korean and Chinese teams duked it out, oftentimes finding Torb to have great success holding on maps that typically wouldn't succeed with any type of defense. Now, with utilizing the power of Torb, can potentially hold with the defensive capabilities that Torb provides. So, today we're going to break down a few aspects of what Torb does, mainly in regards to the positioning and team fights as they get molded in these defensive setups. The spectator camera isn't often on our Torbjorn friend, except for the few times where the brilliant Genji player Haskell was playing him, wrecking things. So with the footage that we have from the tournament, it'll be easier to break down the macro play of how it develops for the entire team, which will work because, of course, Torb is a macro playstyle, with much more intricate decisions about how you set up and what your team's allowed to do, more than just microing everything that the Torb himself does. Although making plays with the Deadly Dwarf is, of course, very fun, the biggest strengths come from synergizing around what the Torb produces. Now, before we get into the immense fun that the turret building can have, we have to start off with a big disclaimer. Torb as a pick often requires a commitment from the rest of the team to build around him to actualize the power that the defensive play can have. But that comes at a big risk, because such a team comp isn't flexible in transition stages, meaning that in the example of GC Busan versus Runaway in the grand final of APAC, despite the fact that sometimes Runaway's team comp just never loses first, Jisoo Busan's strategy to just take the low ground positioning in a really tanky, more greedy way by setting up a Bastion that can't die with triple tank just to keep the Bastion alive. You plop that bad boy on the point, well, turns out Torb and Orisa aren't very good at brawling on the point. They have to play keep away. And this even more tanky counter siege playstyle will really show the weaknesses of Torb. And because Runaway lost their fight so early and had a mass swap onto more reliable Streets phase characters, they were at a big ult disadvantage, and the risk definitely didn't pay off twofold. That's the first important premise to understand about Torb. When it fails, it can horrifically backfire on you, but when it starts to succeed, it can snowball based upon him building scrap and the turret being a nuisance to deal with. Also, when you swap its positioning, there's a lot you can do, but it kind of requires you to win the first fight and snowball from there. This template was proven earlier in the tournament when Miraculous Youngster plopped a Bastion right on the point with triple support to keep it alive, winning an entire tick for free. And as Runaway scrambled to try to find point presence fast enough, well, you can't retake into the Bastion. You're in my house now. The counter siege play worked. And it's this principle of stronger positioning with sustained sieging that's going to really make Torb crumble. However, even though that weakness is present, it oftentimes is quite difficult to find that answer. I mean, I don't think anyone has ever in a pro match plopped a Bastion down on the first point of King's Row. But the truth is, these answers often exist, but the benefit that Torb brings you is requiring the enemy to figure them out before the time runs out, which, let's face it, oftentimes they don't. For example, let's look at this impossible to lose situation that Blank found themselves in on Horizon Lunar Colony against AHQ. 5 minutes on the clock to take first on Horizon? Easy, right? Well, perhaps not so easy. AHQ go for a max greed team composition here, and the reason why I call it greedy is because you have one healer, which seems scary in its own right, a Widowmaker, and they're sitting up on the high ground. Now, the interesting thing about this is that I think a lot of even just matchmaking players know how to beat this high ground hold. If you safely rush to the point, you force them to take into you, and instantly you just win, because like we've seen in a previous clip, if this Torb combo has to retake into your positioning, well, it's really, really scary. But I think part of the failure comes from assumptions on what the meta characters are and what's even pickable. One character that some teams were forgetting about at APAC was Lucio. Blank's team composition could have severely been helped by going Reinhardt, Zarya, Lucio, speed boosting past all of this high ground nonsense and just plopping themselves down on the point. But instead, for 5 minutes, they try to take out the open space. The Torbjorn turret gets immense value, creating a really difficult situation for the attacking team to deal with. Yes, it's well known that Mercy is a must pick, but it doesn't matter if you can res attrition in bad positioning. If Mercy had 5 reses, they wouldn't have got past this choke because they're just resing into a firing squad. A very key addition to this team comp is the Widowmaker. Because the Torbjorn turret is always a threat, as well as like an extra burst of damage, it's sort of like having half of an extra character on your team if the fight is in your favor. Widowmaker doesn't have to feel like she needs a lot of the attention. She can bait her team, run away, and we'll actually see the team run away, pun intended, utilize this strategy as well in Anubis, but the Widowmaker can play off on her own and take the time that's required for her to get her value. Whereas in other defensive team compositions, oftentimes there wasn't enough threats on the board for Widowmaker to have that space. With a Torb turret set up, it slows down the attack, if they try to engage into it, obviously. Now we'll show a similar team composition from Runaway. They get the Orisa Torb boosted onto the high ground here by selecting a Mei out of spawn and running her back before the round starts, setting up for quite a interesting defensive stronghold. Here they put Stitch on the Widowmaker as well, and you can see how Stitch is using an escape plan to be able to go back around the turret to use the turret to defend her. Widow is weak to being dove unless she hits the skill shot to counter it, but as long as the Widow can play keep away, the turret is going to be hitting major value. And that's really the key here. The turret buys that time in between the times where Widow is struggling to find what she needs. Having the turret in a high ground position like that, safe behind an Orisa barrier, builds up Molten Core incredibly quickly. And although MVP Space eventually push Runaway off the high ground, and they whittle down the newly placed turret position from afar, safe and secure, it slows down the game for the offense. Even just the turret taking time to be destroyed opens up a window of opportunity for Widow to hit a shot. If Genji can't be just diving the Widow and has to clear out the turret first, it slows him down to buy time for Widow to find her shot, and by the time he mid-air pulls out Dragon Blade, Stitch hits an incredibly clutch shot to remove the Dragon Blade from play altogether. This is why we've always said that a Torb composition counters a dive comp. There isn't going to be enough shielding for the dive comp to avoid the damage from the turret. It's guaranteed to land, and the auto aim of the turret knocking a bit of HP off of a flanker can be all the difference in making them effective or ineffective. On each attack that Runaway fends off here, the attacking team struggles to do enough damage with the resources they have. Even when they were able to focus down the soldier, for instance, well, he just gets rezzed, buying time for the turret and the Widowmaker to get kills. They try to split off and send the D.Va here at the end to deal with the turret, but then you have to deal with other 1v1s that the defenders have an advantage with as well. There's not really a clear answer to this, with dive comp at least. We will see the eventual winners of the tournament, GC Busan, deal with this comp, but we'll deal with that later in the video. For now, we're going to see a revenge strategy from MVP Space, who are sick of the Torbjorn tactics and pulled some out of their own. Here on Hollywood, they set up on the high-rise platform behind an Orisa shield, and this as well creates a lot of problems for Runaway's dive comp. Who even can get up there between all the characters that they have? Are they going to send all their jump heroes? Is Genji going to go duel the turret for a few seconds? It just buys so much time that it's not effective to deal with this turret. You have to set up an alternate strategy, go kill the other enemies of the team, avoid the line of sight of the turret, or just set up a siege stronghold on the point, capturing it all the while. These mobility tactics are just dead and buried against the Torbjorn turret, and it just farms up efficiently against Runaway's attack. Now, MVP Space run a little bit of a different setup here, but keep in mind that they are running the Torb with a single healer. Instead of having the soldier this time, who would provide a little bit of extra healing, there's health packs around that the defensive Genji and Tracer can utilize in order to farm up the haphazard attack. As long as they don't overstay their welcome, they're not going to need any healing. And here we see the defensive Mercy being able to fly up and down from the high-rise platform way too far up in the sky, and you just can't touch her. Mercy and Torb are the carries in this team composition. They are so tanky and so hard to dislodge that they free up the flankers of MVP Space to just do what they want on the back end, similar to like the Widow in the previous composition. You can see just how frustrating this has to be for Runaway. Haskell ends up using an entire Genji blade to fail to kill the Orisa and just kill the turret. That's it. And then the carry Mercy play comes in to reestablish the defense, and all of a sudden, attrition warfare, the attack is just going to get stalled out. Now, eventually, Runaway is able to come on top and capture this point, but if you're keen, you probably have already noticed that MVP Space already completed the map with a decent time, and that's a key aspect of the Torb setups as well. They aren't always going to full hold for you, but they definitely will take some time to figure out how to beat, and that alone can just buy you a lot of time since that time bank is a major element in the payload game type. Now let's go back to that Anubis strategy, this time against GC Busan. Runaway have the unenviable position to attempt to either full hold first or go for the tie on second, but GC have 5 minutes to do so, more time than you even start with, and you'd have to say that they're looking favored going into this attack. GC originally was going to set up with their own attack Widowmaker, but having an Orisa shield way up top means that Runaway are bound to win that Widow duel. And what they swap to is a strategy that I am in love with. Don't be fooled that this is a dive comp. It has some dive hero components in it, but the lack of Lucio instead of having Mercy that gives you Resurrect, and having the Roadhog here allows for GC to have a sieging playstyle. And what are they looking to siege? Well, avoiding the turret and playing underneath on the point is how they're going to play it. The camera being on Roadhog here was incredibly well placed because, as we know, Roadhog with a Mercy on his team is unkillable, basically. He takes the ground he wants. Roadhog don't need no man, but he does need a Mercy because when he gets shot, him getting rezzed, he's a big threat. However, then the counterplay comes in where, although Runaway did take some casualties, the power of Torb is clear. Biding time to be able to pull out the Molten Core allowed for this push to get stopped in its tracks. And that's the ebb and flow of how the Torbjorn works. The enemy can go for point contest, and you're going to be weaker at that, meaning that you basically have to sacrifice Diva just to contest the point so they don't win for free, and thus creates the battle. On the first attack, Haskell on Torb was able to peel back, keep himself alive, build up Molten Core, and pop it. And the thing about Molten Core is that it's like the best defensive ult in the game right now. Oftentimes you think of having your Sound Barrier and Transcendence as your defensive ults, but even in a scrappy fight, as long as your turret's alive, Molten Core is the best. You can play defensive behind it, lure the enemy into the turret's line of sight. The fight's committed. Well, GC don't have a Lucio to run away, and that Molten Core is going to do work. The only problem is, on this next attack, the Roadhog wins out in this battle, just barely killing Haksal as he gets Molten Core up. The hook kill couldn't have been better timed. Popping the Molten Core here may have saved them a bit more time. Keep in mind, it turns Torb into a beast brawling character, allowing him to contest the point if he has to and even fight it out against the beefy Roadhog. The sieging playstyle of GC Busan eventually worked out here, and although Haskell does utilize Molten Core to beef himself up in the next attack, he does switch over to Genji because against the enemy's Pharah, he knows that the Torb isn't going to see much value. Well, that's everything for today's Pro Torbjorn breakdown. I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful. Torb is a powerful skill check type hero that can embolden your defenses and test your opponents, or at the very least, really cut down on a lot of the time that they have in order to attack. Time bank is the name of the game after all, and even just throwing a strategy at your opponent that takes them a little bit extra time to solve can be the difference between their attacking time being worse than yours and you winning the map. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to leave it a like. It really does help us out and lets us know that you're enjoying the content. If you haven't already, please subscribe because we upload each and every day, so you're going to want to hit the bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Link to the description is our Twitter, where we tweet out news, updates, and dank memes, keeping in mind that we are going to BlizzCon and we'll be tweeting from BlizzCon. So be sure to hit us a follow and check out things over there. That's been it for me. I've been FREEDO for Your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.